Welcome back, BuzzPop family, your home for the most unforgettable, heart-fluttering, and sometimes downright unbelievable moments from the world of K-drama stars. Today's story takes us far away from Seoul, across continents, into a city that never sleeps. A city of yellow cabs, skyscrapers, jazz music on street corners, and the unmistakable chill of autumn. Yes, we're going to New York City. But this isn't just a travel diary. This is the fateful trip that brought Yoona and Jun Ho closer than anyone could have imagined, and no one expected what would happen next. It all began in early November, when the air in Seoul was already turning cold and the last leaves were falling. Rumors had been circulating that Yoona and Jun Ho would both be in the United States for separate schedules, a fashion shoot for her, a private brand meeting for him. But on the morning of their departure, sharp-eyed fans spotted something unusual. They were at Incheon Airport, on the same flight. Yoona arrived first, dressed in a cream cashmere sweater, long camel coat, and simple gold earrings. No heavy makeup, just that natural glow that fans adore. She stopped briefly to greet a few fans, signing an album for a girl who looked too shy to even lift her head. Then she disappeared into the terminal. 15 minutes later, Jun Ho appeared. Black turtleneck, tailored coat, leather gloves. The kind of look that could make even a New Yorker stop in their tracks. He moved quickly, but not before fans noticed something, the same carry-on brand and color as Yoona's. Coincidence? Or the first clue? By the time they landed at JFK International Airport, night had fallen over New York. But the city was alive, glittering like 1,000 little galaxies. The two stars exited separately, or so it seemed, until a short clip surfaced online just hours later. A fan had captured Jun Ho casually walking up to Yoona outside the terminal, adjusting her scarf against the November chill. It was a fleeting moment, but enough to send social media spiraling into speculation. The first full day in New York, the pair were spotted at a cafe in Soho. No managers, no assistants, just two people sharing breakfast by the window as the morning light spilled over them. According to a fan sitting 2 tables away, they spoke quietly in Korean, occasionally laughing in that unguarded way that made them seem more like longtime friends than co-stars. At one point, Yoona reached across the table, wiping foam from Jun Ho's upper lip with a napkin, and that single gesture was all it took for the hashtag #JunHoYoona to start trending back in Korea. From there, sightings multiplied. That evening, they walked through Brooklyn, the Manhattan skyline glittering across the water. The wind was sharp, and Jun Ho slipped his hands into his coat pockets, then offered one to Yoona. She hesitated, then smiled and slid her hand into his. A tourist nearby caught a blurry but unmistakable photo. By midnight, it was everywhere. But what happened next turned this quiet getaway into something unforgettable. On their third day, they visited an art gallery in Chelsea. It was a small, intimate space, white walls, soft lighting, and only a handful of visitors. Yoona was drawn to a watercolor painting of a couple under an umbrella, walking in the rain. Jun Ho stood beside her, studying it. "It's peaceful," she murmured. Jun Ho tilted his head. "No, it's more than that. Look at how they're holding hands, not because they have to, but because they want to." She looked at him then, and for a heartbeat, neither moved. That moment was interrupted only by the gallery owner recognizing them and offering to take their photo in front of the piece. They agreed, and that photo would later be auctioned for charity, making headlines weeks later. That night, they attended a private charity dinner. The event was filled with influential guests, but all eyes seemed to drift toward the quiet table in the corner where Yoona and Jun Ho sat. When Jun Ho was unexpectedly asked to give a short speech about his travels, he spoke about art, people, and the importance of cherishing moments. And then, in front of everyone, he glanced at Yoona and said, "Sometimes, you fly across the world to find out the person who feels like home has been beside you all along." The room went silent. Cameras clicked. Yoona's expression was unreadable, until she smiled, small and genuine. But the night wasn't over. In the middle of dessert, the fire alarm rang. Guests were ushered outside into the cold street. Amid the confusion, a small boy became separated from his mother. Crying, he wandered toward the crowd. Without hesitation, Yoona knelt, speaking softly to him, while Jun Ho searched the crowd until he found the mother. The reunion was tearful and quick, but that image, of the two Korean stars protecting a child in the middle of a chaotic New York street, went viral overnight. The following morning, they retreated to Central Park, perhaps seeking a break from the growing online frenzy. There, sitting on a bench with steaming cups of coffee, they looked almost like any other couple. And then, the moment that fans would replay endlessly happened. Jun Ho pulled something from his coat pocket, a vintage Polaroid camera. He took a photo of Yoona, waited for it to develop, then handed it to her. At the bottom, in neat handwriting, were the words, "For my favorite person in New York." Yoona laughed softly, but there was a shimmer in her eyes. "You know people will talk," she said. Jun Ho smiled faintly. "Let them." By the time their flight home landed in Seoul, the story had taken on a life of its own. Fans dissected every photo, every clip. Was this just two friends traveling together? Or was New York the city where friendship turned into something more? Whatever the truth, one thing was certain. This was a trip no one expected, and one the world would keep talking about for a very long time. And now, KBUZZPOP family, it's your turn. If you had been on that bench in Central Park, watching them share coffee under the falling leaves, would you have believed it was just coincidence, or destiny's way of revealing the truth? And that, dear KBUZZPOP family, was the fateful New York trip of Yoona and Lee Jun Ho, a journey that started as two stars on separate schedules, but ended with the world wondering if they had just witnessed the start of something beautiful. Maybe it was just timing. Maybe it was fate. Or maybe the city that never sleeps gave them a moment they'll never forget. What do you think? Was it coincidence, or was destiny quietly writing its own script? Share your thoughts in the comments. You know we read every single one. This is KBUZZPOP, where we bring you the stories that make your heart race, your mind spin, and your imagination run wild. Until next time, stay tuned, stay curious, and remember, in the world of K-drama, sometimes reality is even better than fiction.